did use. I may go to the link to make sure it's actually showing. If she's gonna have to hear us, well, I'm gonna scoot up just a little bit. I mean, I'm not gonna scoot around. I'm gonna scoot up a little bit so she can hear, and so they can hear us right here too. Because this will be. No, this is gonna be.
Yes. But it's a really nice. It's really nice. It's not easy. Yeah. They still trying to. Don't let them lie to you. It's a different kind of race. It's different.
Okay, you go.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's out there. So he was here for a month, and then he's in Orlando for a month. Are you on? Yeah, a little bit, but he's having so much fun. He gets to live in a hotel. Now just think about this. He lives in a hotel for 2 months. They do his laundry. Okay. He doesn't have to change the sheets on his bed. They do it later.
I like
But
that.
he's living down there working for the public defender. So George Washington is on the line. So he'll either stay in Orlando or come back to us. So
Well, it sounds like a good.
You got a cloud to go.
A little bit.
All I'm gonna talk about is safety concerns within the office, and it's already right here, I'll just quickly do this and be out of here. I would like to suggest that if we already have parents that do this, they'll call 15 ahead of time to check out kids. That way they don't have to sit in the building, wait in the building, and if they're coming from this building, Lisa will call me. I watch them till they get to the car or to a parent, and if they're going through the clinic or whatever, they go out to the building. I would just like to see it made mandatory that they call 15 minutes before they come in. And some people do that already. All right, going right on down the line. Anyone having to drop off items, have it contained in something that's carryable, that you can carry, and there'll be a container inside the store and inside Lisa's store. And it has the name of the child on it. And we'll get it to the child, but we don't have to handle the item. Next, any parent comes to a meeting, will wait just inside these glass doors in this building, and seating will be available, I think. We'll talk about that. All students will be kicked outside the building at the end of the day. I don't agree with this door being unlocked in the evening and after school, because I feel like people walk through those doors, they with a gun, whatever, I hope they don't. But I think that all students can be picked up curbside. No students come into the office to pick up mail or pick up copies from teachers. They can bring their copies to the window, and I can get them through the window, and I can put them in boxes, and you can pick them up there. And most teachers stay a day at 2 p.m. time. I don't hardly ever have anybody that wants them within 30 minutes, so that might work. And then last of all, we have a lot of kids that come out during the day to use the cell phone unnecessary. And if there's a way around that, it would help. And Ms. Burgess has made a comment, we've got an extra phone in this corner right now. And it will reach outside that window. And maybe we could provide a table, and I have a call list. I can still give them numbers through the window. But we have too much traffic in and out of the office during the day. And I'm sure you all know that too. You said that. From just, 50, 60 kids a day. And I'm not going to do now. It's too much. But anyway, and last of all, Lord, thank you for the bonus this spring. And I speak to everybody. We sure do appreciate it. It's like Christmas. But I'm gonna tell you what, we had a good time, and even Miss Burchett and Dustin and Michael Short, but by the time we got to the end of May, we were finished. We just got downright silly, didn't we? Anyway, thanks for letting me talk, and maybe some of this stuff is happening. You're very welcome. Thank you. You're welcome for your help.
You're welcome, Ms. Donna, I appreciate it.
And I'm gonna get out of here so you can argue about it. Okay. Jan, I'm gonna go next, okay? Okay.
Okay. I wanted to first begin by saying that the 5 administrators were on the steering committee to compile information to make up our reopening plan. We took several school districts, their plans, and we modified some and then custom fitted to Newport Grammar School. I also asked several stakeholders, including staff and community leaders, to review the plan and make comments. And I think what I want to do tonight is, before we start this and go review about what our website's going to look like, we wanted to make a plan that was going to be easy to understand, that they could take one look at it and kind of know what our mission was. It was safety, that we really, it's in different phases according to how many cases we had in Newport. So, if Michael is okay with it, we're going to start with what our Facebook and our website's going to look like. It will first have at the top a video from me, talking to the, whoever wants to click on this. And then we'll go into the reopening plan.
Hello, I'm Sandy Burgett, Director of the Newport City School System. These past several months have been stressful for many of us, and I know that everyone is anxious to hear more details about the reopening of our school this fall. Our school board and administrators have been working very hard for the past several weeks to develop a plan to allow us to reopen safely while still providing a top-notch environment for learning. Our complete reopening plan can be found on our school website at www.newportgrammar.org. But I want to briefly share some of the more important details with you in this video. First, I want you to know that our reopening plans were developed with guidance from the Tennessee Department of Education state and local health officials, and other members of our community. Because of COVID-19, there is still a lot of uncertainty in our world today, so many parts of our day-to-day operations could still change in response to the virus. Over the last few weeks, we've surveyed our parents, and through that survey, we learned that some families are very concerned about returning to school in person this fall. Those students will have the option to participate in school from home with virtual learning. Access to a computer and reliable internet will be needed, and students will participate in learning activities each day, Monday through Friday, for the same amount of time as a student attending school in person. For those of you planning to send your children to school, please know that we will have new procedures in place aimed at keeping our staff and students safe. You can find more details in the online reopening plan document. More than anything, we want you to know that we care deeply for your children and will continue to do our very best to provide outstanding education for every Newport Grammar School student, whether in person or online. Thanks for listening, and we're looking forward to a great year of learning at Newport Grammar School.
Okay, that'll be on the red side. Then we will have our reopening plan that we're going to start with to kind of give you an overview. You have this in your packets. And what you will find first is just a general letter from me to whoever's looking at it. Then you'll go into our steering committee that was made up of the administrators. Then we had a stakeholder review task force also to look at it and give us feedback. The next page, contents, and then we're going to go on to the key terms. These assist in understanding the common terms used when discussing COVID-19. The next page would be understanding pandemic modeling. This page gives a small history of how scientists are comparing COVID-19 to past pandemics. Okay, the next one is a comparison of coronavirus and influenza, the similarities and the differences they have found. Our next page is a quick reference plan for reopening of school. This chart lists what school will look like in each phase. There are 4 phases. The next page is the protocol phases. There are 4 phases. Phase 4, there's no risk. Phase 3, minimal risk of spreading COVID-19. Phase 2, moderate risk of spreading COVID-19. And phase 1, significant risk of spreading COVID-19, and school will be closed. Each of these phases has a list of what protocols the school will be following, determined by what phase we're in. Okay, the next page is testing protocols. This pertains to the community spread and the protocol pertaining to testing. Okay, the next one is personal protective equipment. The level of community spread of COVID-19 will determine the protocol for wearing of protective equipment. The next one is cleaning protocols. The community spread phases are listed with specific cleaning and frequency of cleaning that should take place under each phase. The next one's cleaning procedures. The phases listed detailed cleaning and the frequency of cleaning. Okay, I know there's a lot of questions about the cafeteria. Christina has worked really hard coming up with the cafeteria offer versus serve plan. What we're going to do, we're going to extend the lunch time by 60 minutes. That way we will utilize our main cafeteria and the primary cafeteria, and hopefully we can adjust it where there will be one class at a time in each so we can do social distancing. The last part is Little Warriors COVID-19 response, how they are taking precautions in our daycare program. So on our website, we'll have this, that the staff, that people in the community, parents can go to and open it up and review what our plan is. Then we're gonna have another, section that'll be about registration. There, they can click on, if they're gonna attend the campus on site, they can find out what's involved in that. Then, students attending by virtual. And I know, Dr. Norton and Mr. Short will be having a training for our virtual, participants with, their parents. It'll be by Zoom that they can find out information and how to apply for it. Then we'll also have a section about what the upcoming, a day in the life of an NGS student, because we really, want parents to know what it's gonna look like. Like, we're gonna be taking temperature. We're going to be asking some questions, health screening questions that, and then the next thing, as they're entering, they would have some hand sanitizer to clean their hands before they enter the school. And we'll have 5 different areas that they can enter, and each child will be given a specific area to enter. And, like say they go to the gym, there'll be social distancing marked off where they will go, and they will see it like we're in exits, like that. And so, we're trying to promote that also. And, are there any questions about so far? We will add, as some of this is still a work in progress, like the virtual students, will add more to that after Dr. Norton and Mr. Short meet them. And, any,
On the phases, where are we getting that information? Who determines whether we're in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3?
supposedly, we have been told the mayor is supposed to call that.
Okay, and where are they?
Well, she's not calling it, but I would say phase 3 probably is where we're at. We're not phase 4, phase 3, or phase 2. I would think phase 3. I don't know. We have not, I'll be honest with you, how we have not even consulted. We're just trying to get our reopening plan. And, you know, we will be, we have 3 weeks, I think, when school starts. So we will be contacting them, but it's my understanding the mayor and the health department is supposed to tell us what phase we are in. And therefore, we would communicate to the parents by automated phone calls and on our website, you know, and by a digital board, what phase we're in. And they should have this reopening phase now.
Okay, see,
Yes.
okay, to address that, there is a code task force that has met since March, of leaders throughout the county and city. They have representation from the educational staff, the school area, the health area, both mayors, both, sheriff's department, police department, the Joe A. Slade, emergency preparedness, director. I know Jana Chambers came very beginning, when she retired, and the last one, we had, that I was in attendance was not this past week, the week before, was, and what was discussed, in Judd, in pretty much the group area of it was, the mayor's own health department would, on Wednesday or Thursday, notify the school system of how the week is going, the school systems, that's both systems, how the week is going, because the county's concern was, you can't just on Thursday wake up on Friday, so they give the detail Thursday, to determine what the next week will hold. Now, again, like any plan, it's fluid, it changes, it can change, but that is the stance, the answer there, who makes that call? I hope she can hear me.
I did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Masada had to catch his last name because the connection wasn't the best. Joe. I think it was Monday, but I can't guarantee I will use that correctly.
So Jan, what you're saying, the task force, I know Manny represents education. So the task force would meet, and as a group, they come up with what phase, and then the mayors call it, and then we're notified.
That's the plan of the health department, which is all the information. They would contact the directors and say, this is where we stand, and you all as a group can make a decision of, okay, what phase are we in? Are we one, two, three, or four? Three, and then county just one to three. County's on the radio, but they're, I guess, their yellow is a combination of our two, three things. The red is significant, something that the groups go, and then the yellow bars. Pretty much the blue look the same, but I've seen here and what I can see online. The best that I can see online.
That'd be a city mayor.
I believe the county mayor, it's mine, is the county mayor and city mayor together to make the call, or just the county mayor, Jan?
I think Trey, there's both working pretty close. So I think they're both making it Tuesday. And the reason I have been sitting in is I'm a member of the other side of the coalition. And Deanna was unable to attend, so they asked me to sit in, so I sit in for the rest too. My understanding is that both locally, I guess, we're supposed to call it, the county mayor, city of Alphabet, but the decisions that affect that.
Okay. I know we have not really been getting a lot of information back from the task force, so I will try to connect, maybe with Manny. I think he represents us, to see if they'll share when they do decide with us, give us a call. Another thing I wanted to talk about, we had brought up about the infrastructure of the essential workers. What that means, what this is saying, the CDC, this about the is saying, do you want to declare the staff, the teachers at Newport Grammar School as essential workers? If you do, according to CDC, that means if a teacher had been exposed to someone with COVID, that they could still perform their duties at school but wear a mask. And it was explained to us that by the health lady that then they're to go home after they leave school. You do not have to vote to accept this. You can vote to say if someone was exposed that they had to do self-quarantine. The self-quarantine, but I think what this is going by, they can see that they're going to have a problem staffing subs. And if someone has not shown symptoms, then they feel like they should get to continue to be considered an essential worker. It's up to the board what you all would like to decide. But is that how you understand it?
It was, the only other thing to add to it would be that she pointed out to us that a person could go 5 days before they show symptoms. So that would be the only concern possibly there, but it was, that if they had been exposed, they could work for 14 days wearing a mask, but that they had to go straight home. The only place they could travel to would be work in that situation. don't know how we would police that, but that was,
Yeah,
That's what we're gonna do.
I
Right.
know. There's a lot of unknowns about this. And also, I included, Health Star is interested in partnering with us in the clinic. The only catch is Cherokee, furnished all of their supplies like that, their beds, the refrigerators, their Band-Aids and all of that stuff. In this agreement, I have put in there, they want us to furnish, it's a list of items here. And, plus furnish the internet and the phone system. And I would imagine that would come to less than 5,000, to get it up and running. But I'd like to know the board's wishes before we move forward with this. I thought I'd try to see maybe if we could get some sponsors of a room to see if a family might like to equip the room, call it a certain room, like.
our internet, our phone, you know, building that.
Well, that's what I told them. I said that Cherokee furnished the room and everything. So, you all can say we accept part of it, but we're not going to furnish the phone or the internet. Whether they will come or not, I don't know, but I don't mind negotiating with them because I told them Cherokee paid for their own phone and for their own internet. We furnish the facility and the electricity.
You said that Cherokee was not furnished us a nurse.
No, they weren't going to furnish anything. It was going to be televised,
Right, I think it was telehealth for the doctor.
Nothing, no personnel, no live person on site. And they figured it out. I really think that they probably saw that they were having to take such a cut that they weren't that interested in negotiations. So it's your wish, whatever you all want, but Health Star has shown an interest. Candy Oco called me, and the nurse practitioner, along with the nurse practitioner, Sonia Hans, is that name sound familiar?
She was Sonia Parker.
She
was Sonia Parker.
Okay, she's a nurse practitioner. She came up, and Elisa Holt, who is the practice manager. But I kind of just calculated, it'd be less than 5,000 just to start it up. But then, that internet's not wired for in there, that's connected to ours, on our phone system, they get their own private phone system, sure. So it's the board's wishes.
What we're facing right now with all this, I think it'd be a good idea to have that in place.
Well, and they're willing to come. And, hopefully we can get all of this and get it up and going. It might take us about a month. But I think it's a win-win situation. I know Charlotte, Charlotte really believed in this, and having a clinic on site. And everything, but, it's a board, if you all agree, then I'll proceed with them.
Nurse practitioner.
Wait, I'm sorry.
It's a nurse practitioner.
Nurse practitioner, and I'm sure an office person. I'm not sure if they'll send anybody else like LPN, helper. Really, we just have a few people per day, they would stay at 10:30. No, just at 10:30 or there. And because that's usually when people sick, if they come to school or they're sick, or it'll be open to like, city personnel also. We did that before, and like, staff, retired people and their families, and people like that, and children, all of our, children.
You need to put that on the agenda. I feel as though, I feel as though something we've already solved. I feel as though something that we've already solved in Kathy's office. What do you all think?
Well, Kathy is still going, she would be like the first phase, or first tier that somebody would go to. Then she would refer them to the clinic if the parent wanted the child to go to the clinic, like with a temperature, like that, or say, we were doing temperatures as they're entering, if a child had a temperature, and Kathy, of course, hopefully the parent's waiting for us to send them back with them home, but So Kathy, we call Kathy to come up to take another way of the temperature to see if it is high. And then the parent may want the child to be sent to the clinic, at which time Kathy would escort the child with a mask on, and she had a mask on, hospital. If that makes sense.
I agree. When you put that on your
You can put on the agenda that we'll move forward in partnership with HealthStar. How's that?
Okay, so I'm saying,
Yes, yes.
all right, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to principal report.
Okay, we talked last time, we've all been working, obviously, on the plan to get school started, and we sort of divided that up so that we're all working on different parts. A few of us are working on safety, a few of us are working on facilities, some of us are working on the academic end of things. And I have, we've all collaborated on a few elements. One of them is what we call the CLP. That is the document that the State Department has put out for us to complete. It talks about how are we going to ensure that virtual learners are getting the same quality of education that a traditional in-school person is getting. It's a pretty involved process. We're having to answer a lot of questions and create some documents to really show what we're doing. We're having to show the amount of time that we're spending. We're expecting the students to spend throughout the day, like 6.5 hours a day for 5 days a week, and making sure folks understand that. And then working on that now, and I'm sending back the second draft of that probably tomorrow morning, and we'll wait and see what the state says, whether they're going to approve that or send it back for revisions. I had a little technical issue on getting some of the documents to upload, and they called that to my attention. And then we wait to see what happens next. So it's this evolving thing of the state reviews it, and if they suggest changes, we have to come back to the table with something different. Last time we also discussed about certified staff. We were asking certified staff to become certified as a Google Classroom teacher. And that process has begun. I've been doing some health classes here in the auditorium for the last couple of weeks, and I've had about 20 people participate in that. And I've received word from 3 or 4 that they've already taken and passed the test, so that's encouraging. We've had a couple of technical issues that we are working through on being able to connect and that sort of thing. But considering we didn't know we were going down this road 3 months ago, I think we're off to a good start there. And giving people a little bit of training to get ready for this online instruction.
deadline for them to get certified.
Okay.
Sure.
What I sent out to the faculty about, did you get it, Bob? Did you all get the letter I sent that, we're wanting to introduce you to Google Classroom, that if you didn't pass it, still yet you would be educated on what it's all about and utilizing it in the classroom. I think there's been a lot of stress over it, but we are compensating if they pass tier 1, they get $50. If they want to take the challenge of tier 2, they get $100 inside. But Mr. Short has taken time, sometimes he does 2 or 3 classes a day, trying to, take them through all of the different steps on how to use the Google Classroom. And I would have to have remediation myself. But, we're trying to offer support. And we're not doing it as a threatening measure for the teachers. It's just we think it's important to get all of the students and parents knowing the same format and the teachers using it so the transition of virtual learning will be easier in case we have to go our whole school. And that's where we're at right now. But I did send an email out to let the teachers know, kind of explain why we were going with Google. And that, if they don't pass, it's not the end of the world. Yes. Yes.
I know in the county, we're doing a 3-hour class with doing all the modules, and that's going to let us get by for a little bit and get us able to say we'll go some. I don't know, do you guys plan on that same process?
Now, we're having Google training.
I'm going to be on the 27th, July 27th. We have a Google certified trainer who is going to be on site here for a day to offer a Google training to our teachers who it is optional in service and it can take the place of an in-service following week. But we are going to have a Google training here at school that day. I don't know if you're aware or not, but beginning this year, our brand new teachers are going to be Google certified coming out of college. So in order for our teachers to stay current, and in order for our older teachers to be just as certified as our brand new teachers coming in, this may be something that they would want to do just to stay even on the game.
And
But we
right,
are having a Google training coming. We're also having another Google training during our in-service week. It's going to be a virtual training, which will have a whole group or a whole, where everybody's watching the same session, and then pull-out sessions. Once again, they're going to be virtual. That will hone in on specific subjects and specific skills those teachers need. Finally, in September, I think, the first 1 o'clock dismissal day, we plan to hold a third training with a different trainer. So our focus really this year is going to be on lots of ways that you can use Google. Because the great thing about Google is once the teachers put their items there, they're there.
and right now we have 19 of our 60 teachers who have requested a voucher. They're to the point that they're ready to sign for a test where they've taken their test. And of course, 2 administrators who have completed certification.
I just think it's real important during this time of high stress that we don't load that wagon any heavier than we're already loaded on teachers. I mean, I know you guys are scrambling too, but for me as a teacher, I had to do those modules. I thought I was a spaceman for a while there. It was so overbearing. So just be cautious of that for your teachers. Please let them know that you're there to help them and get through this. There's a lot there, and there's a lot of frustration involved in that training process.
Understood. I know there's test anxiety too, because it's time test, and it's been a while since some of us have sat in a chair and had to sit through, the countdown clock. So we're trying to be sensitive to that too, and still get everybody on the remote learning world. It's a delicate task.
I just think it's a good time to let everybody know that we're here to get them through this. And not just say, hey, you gotta get Google certified to keep your job. It should be more or less, we're gonna get you Google certified so that you can be a better teacher.
It's really just to, even if they don't pass it, it's just to make them familiar.
Tell
You know,
a teacher about a test, he's gonna be an overachiever.
Yeah.
Most of them, But that was just my concern.
Maybe that's what I was trying to get across. Thank you.
And we had the conversation too, that there's nothing punitive to not passing it. There's nothing punitive to not getting certified.
And there are several in-person trainings prior to that. So if they wanted to wait and get lots of training before they attended, there are lots of support available and lots of support setting up their Google classrooms.
Okay, sorry, I'll go faster here. I know there's been a lot of sort of intense public scrutiny in the last several days and weeks about why we haven't released our information publicly yet. Sandy sort of talked to this earlier. We spent the entire day today trying to fill in some of the blanks about our reopening plan that you saw, what registration day is going to look like. And we spent about an hour and a half on the conference call with someone from the district health department today who had a copy of our plan and suggested some revisions there. And so, I get the frustration because as a parent, I would want to know before the absolute last minute what's getting ready to happen. But it's frustrating from our standpoint that we're seemingly shooting at a moving target. We'll come up with a plan. We started early on in March when the closure happened. Started talking about, well, what if, and we have something that we felt like we could put into play, only to have the state come along and later and change the guidance, and we have to go back to the drawing board. This morning is just an example of how that's happened again. You have someone coming in and suggesting more changes. And so I appreciate everybody's patience, both staff and parents, because we're navigating this and what I think is the best we can with the information that we have, and it's literally changing by the minute. And that's a little frustrating for us as people that are trying to lead us through. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Assistant Principal, this is
Most of the things I've been working on are the preparation for when we do come back to school. We've ordered $12,000 or $13,000 in school supplies for every student to have their own, whatever they need for the grade levels. To the best of our abilities, I took some different supply lists that were out there and asked teachers for feedback. And what I did is I went through and I balanced it so every student got the same dollar amount provided to them. So some grade levels asked for more than others, and I tried to throw some more stuff to them to balance it out that they might need throughout the year that wasn't on the supply list. And then some people I had to say, you know, we can't get all of this, we put it on the wish list. So, but we definitely saved a lot of money for the families, but just looking at it, you know, if I went out and bought this stuff, even at like Walmart or Amazon, an individual versus what I got from bulk prices, I mean, it's probably half of the cost. So that was a big win for us, I think. And then, like I said, the safety aspect where every kid will have everything they need. They won't be sharing the supplies and keep hands from touching everything. We've ordered lots of signs and stuff going around campus. You saw 3 of them when you came in. 3 different types we have there. One is just about stopping the spread of COVID-19. Social distancing, hand washing, reminds people to do that. And the other one that talks about visitors to campus are required to have a health screening, which can be temperature checks, and then the questionnaire. And the third one is going to be out when their parents roll up. It says, please wait for a signal from staff because if we check temperatures, you might have to give them a stop sign or a thumbs up or a stop sign. Tell them, you know, hold on a second. We got a temperature reading, we have to pull up the park and wait for their scan to do secondary, and if they do have a temperature, they have to go back. So it's gonna take time, but in times like this, when we're talking about safety, I mean, there's not too much time to spend. We also ordered some extra cleaning supplies for our custodians to use, some towels and some extra just solution for them to use. We're still in the process of getting a few more things as well for that, disinfectant sprayers. We ordered paper towels for the teachers, quite a bit of paper towels. There's 120 cases of paper towels sitting over there right now. What we do is distribute those because quite a few of our teachers.
That's how they can find it.
Oh, yeah. I got them because the agency had them, so I got them when they had them. That's been a challenge too, is finding stuff. I mean, a lot of stuff is out, and I've had to find it where I can find it and whoever has it. But the plan with those is teachers will be able to, a lot of them have sinks in the classrooms, especially over the other building. And since we're going to be doing frequent hand washings, they'll be able to do hand washings in the classroom and have extra paper towels in there because the ones we get from the custodians, they're made to go in the machines. So, you know, those are hard to rip off, and these are just kitchen paper towels where you can just teach them to rip a sheet and hand it to the kid as they're washing their hands, you know, morning, lunch, afternoon, multiple times a day. We're excited that TEMA has teamed up with the state and education and given us masks. We've got our first shipment of 4 per teacher. So each teacher will get 4, if they would like them, 4 cloth masks to use. Or the black ones you've seen all over the news. You know, they took them all, brought them back to the ones with ties. I think they have. I think they have a little TN logo, if I'm not mistaken. And then they're supposed to be sending us 4 per student as well. So we had the option of 4 reusable, washable cloth masks or 40 disposable. We chose to go with the 4 reusable because 40 disposable, that's 2 months. And then, so we figured that 4, you know, a lot of parents probably have masks for their kids, but they want to wear them anyway. But this gives us, everybody has availability. They can go get more than one to help them. Everybody would have 4. That would get them, you know, they can wash Monday, so wear it Friday.
Yes, and here is your mask. I just happen to have one in my purse
Can you say
along with
something on it?
all of the other masks, but this is the mask.
So if they tie, which I think might be more comfortable, I've never tried on one like that. Like I said,
And then it will tie. Like I said, I just happen to have one, so.
so we'll have those to give out, probably when we do registration or the first day of school, we'll give those out. The staff will get theirs, that's, I'm assuming we'll get the staff for the next few weeks, so we should be good there. We also ordered some plexiglass shields for the receptionists, cafeteria staff. We have all the thermometers in the state games, with quite a few of those, so we get the case when we go down, and not just, we don't have just enough, we have extra, we can use. So, yeah, we put out a call on teachers or staff, any staff to do the thermometers in the morning. I think we've got our responses on those. We're gonna have 5 entrances available in the morning for students and staff. They'll be staffed by a thermometer checker, and they'll do the check, and they'll ask them a few questions real quick. And then they'll send them on the way, get their Germex in the building. Like they said, where they're gonna go will be figured out as we talk to the families and assign them different locations based on what their preferences. A lot going on behind the scenes here to get ready for back to school in 2.5 weeks. 3.5 weeks. Doing the best we can with what we got. That's all I've got for the Christians.
Okay, thank you. Federal programs.
Federal Programs is working very hard alongside of Dustin to get supplies ready, textbooks, things like that for the students and teachers, along with supplies both to use in the classroom and then supplies to use in the events of virtual teaching. We are also working on our in-service agenda at this time. The majority of our in-service this year is going to be virtual. So teachers will be able to, for the majority of the in-service, remain in their classrooms or with chosen cohorts or chosen members if they would like to social distance in a classroom and be together. We do have a couple of days where we have whole group meetings. The whole group meetings will take place in the gym because the gym gives us the greatest amount of social distance in the building. I did ask the health department today whether that was an acceptable, and they said, and whether the whole group was acceptable, and the health department said the way that we are going to social distance and use the gym would be appropriate. We plan on doing all the sign-ins with QR codes and virtual sign-ins, so nobody has to use a pen after somebody else or line up to sign a piece of paper. So even with our virtual in-services, we have a way that they will sign in during the in-service. We also are planning for the teachers. Michelle Black and I are working on having some food trucks available here at school. With the amount of faculty that we have and the restaurants not being at full capacity, we think that it might be difficult for the teachers all to be able to enjoy a lunch out. So we're going to provide different food options to them so that if they choose to eat the food options that are provided to them, then they can socialize or socially distance in the primary cafeteria or how they choose with those foods. We have even also had food trucks for snacks to offer to come. So they would have the option of having a snack in the afternoon during a break if they would like to have a snack during the day. And that will keep them having to go off campus for those who would not want to travel off campus to get food during the day.
For in-service, we're also, the regional health lady we spoke to is trying to find somebody to come and do in-service with the staff and custodians about, the proper way to clean or how we should be cleaning to be safe with COVID-19. As soon as we have that date down, the agenda for the in-service is ready to go out to the teachers right now. But we will have to do some tweaking on it depending upon the day that we have the safety
the safety portion of the in-service. Any questions over in-service?
Okay. All right, thank you. Systems assessment, Justin.
Okay, just to start off, I wanted to echo something that Michael was saying earlier about the continuous learning plan that we have to put into place. We were given 28 days by the state to develop a continuous learning plan and submit it. And within the first 7 days of that, we had gotten very, very far. We were looking pretty good at being able to get it submitted early. We were ahead of some other districts, and then the state changed the rubric 7 days in. And then about 7 days later, the state changed the rubric again. So we've had 3 different rubrics at least, or at least 3 different changes maybe. So it's due at the end of this week, but luckily these last 2 changes, we've had very, very little to change on it. But that part's been frustrating. That's been one of the reasons why it's taken us, where we could have released it earlier, but it wouldn't have matched the state rubric had we done it. As far as virtual learning goes for the fall, this person has asked me to kind of oversee that. And one of the first things we're going to do to start that process off is Mr. Short and I are going to have a parent meeting, a virtual parent meeting this Thursday. We're going to do 2 sessions. We're going to do a 10 a.m. session and then a 5 p.m. session for parents to get to hear what virtual learning is going to be like and get to have an opportunity to ask some questions if they do or if they have any, because I know there's a lot of questions out there, especially after some of the other school systems have talked about what virtual learning looks like. And some of that is system specific, but some of that is very much state specific. So we have to be very clear with the parents on that. Okay, yeah, and I've got that in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to follow, of course, all state guidelines when it comes to the length of time that students have to be involved in virtual learning for the day. How that looks specifically can vary a little bit from system to system, and we'll explain that to parents then. We also have to follow state guidelines when it comes to attendance tracking and the way we record attendance and participation in the class. So we will be doing all that. In your list of things for approval tonight, one of them is board policy 6.709. That was a policy where we have had to add in the language of mobile electronic instructional devices. We added that in 2 times in there. And the reason being, that is to cover, even though it kind of broadly already covered if a student were to be loaned a school device and damage it, that they would be responsible for it, the parent would be responsible. By adding this specific language, it points out, yes, in fact, we are also talking about our Chromebooks or any other device that we send home. I know other systems have also pointed out that they are going to offer parents the option of purchasing insurance on the device, whether it's if they want to purchase it on a device they're using all the time at school as a just in case, or in the case of getting to take the device home, whether it's those who are on virtual or if we all go to virtual. Our insurance, I've worked with a company and got this included for our continuous learning plan at $23 for each student for the entire year. And there is no limit on the number of claims. And Mike, you probably think that was shocking that the insurance company says no limit on the number of claims. So supposedly they can damage the device as many times as they can possibly even do it during the year. And the insurance, as long as they've got it paid, will keep replacing that device. So we'll provide that information to parents too. And I know some parents, some other school systems have gone with other companies and it's a little higher. We were lucky we found a company that we were able to check up on and make sure, good reputation, work with systems, and got a good price. Okay, so one of our big plans for virtual learning is to make sure that the teachers are able to keep the students learning the same thing and the same lessons that more or less they would be learning in person. Our decision was rather than to purchase a program or a curriculum, because all of our textbooks, starting this year with the language arts textbook, we finally have all 4 of the core subjects have online components available for their textbooks. We have Google Classroom. We have lots of teachers that are already doing technology enhanced type things in their class using Google and the different Google Suite items. So our decision was that we wanted to make sure that learning looked like learning as close as it possibly could, whether you were at school or at home. So 2 thoughts there. One being that if a student were to have to transition to online at some point during the year, they could easily move right into what was already going on at school, or vice versa. If a student transitioned into coming into school at some point during the year, that would be a possibility as well. And they wouldn't be lost or wouldn't be on something totally different. It also, because if we had purchased the curriculum, even though the teachers would still be teaching it, the idea here was that's two different things a teacher would have to be teaching and keeping up with. Two different curriculums, two different. So to make it one curriculum where it's essentially, it's the same lesson you were doing at school with modifications for online, we thought put the least amount of burden on the teachers. And again, like I said, the easy shift between. Hamilton County Schools, the curriculum consortium that you all voted for us to be able to join earlier in the spring is one of the things Hamilton County Schools that's also going to be in the consortium is doing is offering to share where they have already started building a pretty extensive library of Google Classroom lessons designed around the standards, the general state standards, and they are going to share those with us. Our opportunity here is for teachers who maybe are having a harder time transitioning some of their lessons to an online format to have either the ability just to use a lesson specifically for a standard, have access to that, or even use this as kind of like a guidepost or a template for how they design their online lessons. So we've gotten really lucky with that. And now that we're going to have access to those and we're getting all these things into place, I have asked 3 teachers to represent different grade bands in the building to work with me as a virtual learning planning team to give feedback on what we're seeing, like for the Hamilton County lesson plan library that we're going to have access to, what is and isn't doable, so that we have those ideas, because these are the folks who are actually on the ground working with this material and teaching the kids. So we want to make sure that we're getting feedback from them before we put any kind of expectations out.
Justin, I want to interrupt just a second. And we are also, during our in-service week, having virtual training with all of the textbook companies with their online platform. So if a teacher in the past has not used the online platform available to them with things for virtual instruction, they're going to have an opportunity to learn from the textbook that they currently use. So that's in addition to everything else we've already talked about.
And we have all of those confirmed right now too. So, but I wanted to recognize those 3 teachers that are going to be part of the virtual learning planning team. For grades K through 2, Amanda Holt is going to help us with that. Grades 3 through 5, Jeannie Pittman is going to be helping us. And for grades 6 through 8, Whitney Butler is going to be helping. And that's all that I have.
All right, just, first we got on the board side, as we know, the Molly's was mentioned. I haven't heard anything in regards of the district meetings. We're set for the East one at Jefferson County High School, September 15th. I guess that still is to be determined. We're in the website. They're still on, as of right now, they don't cancel anything. Our next meeting is scheduled for the 17th of August, which would be, a week after we've started back with everything. And again, I want to say thank you for all the hard work with the administrative team that Cindy and I will pull together. Cindy's done a great job of that. I can imagine the literal blood, sweat, and tears that's going to get that. Chris can be appreciative of that too, but so there's a lot of getting out of what we learned. That's the plan. I'll just go across the table. Linda, what do you got any thoughts about the plan?
I have a couple of questions. The plan seems fine to me if we just knew which phase we would be in. We just don't know which phase we're gonna be in. So the plan itself is good. So, but I had a couple of questions about that infrastructure.
I really, Linda, not sure about that. I know the CDC has come up with infrastructure to say that if, like, if you were exposed to stuff like that, you're not showing any symptoms, that you could, if you go to that, you could still be considered an essential worker in county school, wear a face mask all the time, and then go home after. You know, as I say, some areas are endorsing the self-quarantine. If you've been around somebody.
So would that be the other option?
I say that's probably the other option. Is that how you understood?
It could be.
I couldn't ask that to the lady we talked to. She has an important job, doctor.
Sarah,
She used to be here, rural industrial. But anyway.
Each.
Uh-huh.
And
And
they
they
have require everybody to be here.
what I think they must have is CDC, and you all can correct me if you understood it differently. I think they want to keep school going. And they felt like, you know, a lot are going to be exposed to people that have it. And some may get it, some may not. And they're saying if you don't show symptoms, to, you know, that you could continue to work wearing a mask for 14 days. Is that how you all understood it?
Or
They were in that group with me today.
until you did show symptoms.
Yes.
I know one of the concerns was about being able to have adequate subs. If you have so many employees who are quarantining at home, it may become overwhelming to actually conduct school by having enough personnel.
I talked to they told me they were contacted 100 subs. So I say we don't even have any subs still.
What are they doing?
I haven't asked them about this. I did ask them about payments.
I can attest to the meeting with the task force we did, bring that up with the health department. The critical essential workers, our teachers are professionals. Our teachers have a specific set of skills that just not anybody has. They're licensed, they're professional, just like I'm not gonna run the department field. I mean, they're gonna do good right now. Just like our village. Saying that the critical essential workers is what I think that the CDC was actually stating is that we can't just have anybody expanding with their teaching. That is where the space from the Department of Health was saying, create just like people that work in pharmacies, just like people that work in the grocery stores. People have to have the kid in the business of educating kids. And so they have to be, that has to be done with a person with a certain set of skills. And that is where the DOH or the DOH and DOE were talking about. Come up as explanation. And again, I'm no guru. I'm just stating what I've heard from that standpoint. Okay, I hope I don't screw some of that up.
You know, some groups are for this, some groups are against. I think some districts have voted for it, some are leaning against it. It's kind of up to what the board prefers. Is that how you all feel? I swear they wrong with me. But
The
I
woman
mean,
from the health department did state that although they thought that it was a good idea, that they had, I believe she said she believed it was the Department of Education that was saying they didn't think it was a good idea.
she said, of course, they believe our education's different.
That the Department of Education didn't, and I know there are other school systems that have passed this, and there has been some negative reactions from different groups.
I mean, it's bound to happen.
Okay. Lena, is that all you
Okay.
have?
Well, for the plan, yes. yes, I did want to plan, I still have some more questions about some other things. Go ahead. Yeah, I just wonder if you are exposed, if the teacher is exposed, are they going to be using their own sick days or?
I think I think it is up to the LEAs. I think some may do like 10 days, if they have it, not, I don't think that, if they have it. If you went with this infrastructure, then they probably would continue to come until they were tested that they had it, at symptoms and stuff. But, and I'll look into that and get back with you all on that about what other systems are doing. Because really, I have not seen, I think Knox County, did they say they're paid for 10 days? 10 days. Have you heard anything more than like other systems? But I'll check with other directors in First Tennessee to see what they're doing.
And I know with our class sizes, we don't know what they'll be until we get ones that are going to be on virtual learning.
We pretty well know that we have about 25% that have signed up of our group for virtual learning right now, and about 50 to 60% that are coming on site, like 399 children, which is really a big help.
Right. But if those classes, is there a way we could possibly do like the hybrid method? Or
I think what you've got to look into, I think some of these classrooms will have, I know like 7th grade will have 33 to 37 kids, 3 teachers. You know what I mean? So that's just, that's not that many in each classroom. What you get into is the cafeteria, they would only be serving so many days a week. Well, our kids, that affects that part of it too. I think if it got to where it might be phase 2, that might be something you can look into. I think when you're in phase 3 or phase 4, that I don't see why they could not be. We don't have full classrooms. If we had 20 in every classroom and we could not social distance, yes, I could see that. But for classrooms that have 10 to 13, 14, it's,
so, but
you
there
can
is
social
that
distance.
option if the class size does get to be large.
If after their first 9 weeks of virtual, they decide they want to come back on campus, we're going to step back and reassess.
With the hybrid model, you have to do online. The other days are not in school, so that kind of
It's going to
defeats
be
the
those
purpose.
things.
So we kind of come back in the same boat. That's something about hybrid.
And that's no different from the county is saying they have to stay out the semester.
Yeah, we decided 9 more. The county is doing a virtual program. They bought a virtual program. And like if students drop out of the virtual program, it's my understanding you have to pay some money back to the system. Whereas our teachers are keeping it fluid, they're doing the same lessons on site as they are virtual. Therefore, a child could ever, at the end of each grading period, could decide, if the parent says, this virtual is not for me, I want them back on campus. Or if the number of people go down, the cases, they might want to bring more kids back on campus. And so by our teachers teaching their own classes and keeping it the same lesson, it makes it more durable for us.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Those are great.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you all for your work. Know we're in uncharted waters. We're built for this. We'll make it. I don't think we have an administrator or staff who doesn't want to be back in school teaching and doing what they've been trained to do. This is fluid. I'm like Linda. I don't know what phase we'll be in August, 1st of November, whatever. We'll make it. And
And I don't know the right number of days to give teacher or administrator, they get afflicted with COVID. I don't think anybody will use it as an excuse not to be. Thank you all so much for your hard work. I know there's been a lot of extra time, a lot of extra money. We appreciate everything you do, and we'll get through this. It may not be pretty time. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Nikki?
I've got a couple of questions. Our face masks will be required, especially like grades 4 through 8, and all teachers and staff.
That's up to the board to vote for that. If you're
I
all,
have teachers that are called and text me, and that's a big concern of theirs.
I think that should be a board vote, whatever you all are leaning toward. I know, I think Knoxville is requiring mandated masks. The health lady, I keep calling her the health lady, I can't remember her name, Tara, was recommending masks because she said the way you catch COVID is through droplets. You know, I think that if they wear masks, it should be a board top decision, not necessarily my decision. It should be coming from the top. Okay? So,
I'm not being, and I know, I sent you a cartoon on me.
I know.
Kindergartners, first, second grade, that's virtually impossible to get them to wear a mask for 6, 7 hours a day. I understand. But grades 4 through 8, or even 3 through 8, maybe. Might not be a bad idea for a while just to see how things go. Here's what they hate so much tonight. But, I think it'd be something we might all consider doing, and would make everybody feel a little easier about it. I think we ought to spend some time educating the kids when they come back, what we need to do, they should know by now, but they don't.
Well, we talked about, like, the first day or two, teacher procedures, of where they're gonna be going, how they social distance, how, washing their hands, modeling for them, having them to model to show that they know the good safety procedures. It's a work in progress. I will just tell you, it's a work in progress.
And the critical infrastructure, I don't work 5 days a week every week, but I've been working since March. And I see a lot of people who don't have masks on, and they cough and go on. And I know what I understand how people are, kind of afraid and kind of scared about this. The only thing that bothers me about that is who's going to police these people like I asked before, to make sure that when they leave school, they go home and don't go out here. I'm not going to say where they might go, but anyway, there's no way you can police them. I think that's the only thing that bothers me about that. But, school, like you say, that we're a critical part of what's going on. Just like the policemen and the firemen and the, doctors and nurses, something we're going to have to do. We need to be in school. So, that's the only thing that bothers me about the critical infrastructure. And we're in our business meetings there. We vote on this tonight. We're here.
Or at the bottom, it's not down there, it's at the very bottom.
Thank you.
It's,
Yes, I see it. Thank you. That's pretty good.
and after that, we should have moved forward in partnership.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay, again, I'm gonna get back to that task force for the mayor. Again, we're sitting around that table, round table, with a mask on, every one of us. She made the statement and went out, made the proclamation, she was not going to mandate masks countywide, whereas outside of the PD, not be required in. But their stipulation and their statement was, the best thing to do as leaders, when I say leaders, I mean, in our administration, our staff, is that we lead by example. That would be masks, that's what should be, then that's what you do, because you lead by example. If you're gonna be in close proximity where you can't have the 6 feet apart, then, lead by example. But if what I'm hearing correctly is, if, like she said, in that 7th grade, there's gonna be 37 kids, become 3 teachers. I mean, you're looking at 12 kids per class, 13. There's plenty of opportunities there for social distancing in those classrooms, but not having kids share a table, having to share supplies or anything like that. Again, I'm not playing devil's advocate, I'm simply saying what, the mayor and the health department, they are strongly encouraging us to do that, and lead by example. But she said that she would not mandate masks in our county. Again, her plan is just like our plan, exclude exams tomorrow. And that's what she said, exams tomorrow. But with that, I agree with you, especially the other ones. I can see kindergartners taking them off and wiping their nose with them. Why would somebody else's nose with them? But I can see when we want to, again, with the numbers we want to have, that I heard that correctly, Sandy said 7th grade, for example, around 37 kids. That's 12 classes.
Well, Jan, what we may have to do is combine it, because we're trying to rotate one teacher out to do the virtual each period. And so it may be up to like 15 in the classroom, but I think Dustin went in and did some measuring, correct, Dustin? And he thinks it's feasible for social distancing in the classroom. Rather than desk being moved.
I agree.
And they'll all be pointing in the same direction.
I'll attest to that is, again, like with anything else, it starts at home. And we'll have parents that say, my kid's not gonna wear a mask, you make my kid wear a mask. We'll have parents that say, we want to wear a mask. And again, they lead by example, they share that with them. Just like we say with everything. We're not the be-all, see-all things here. Shoot, when you have it, we have to have reinforcements from home. But I agree that, like Sandy said, that's the board decision. I don't know what we're gonna do if they don't adhere to it. For the teacher, the ISS and the teachers, that opens the door. Quote unquote mandates. I see a lot of people saying, well, you don't smoke in buildings, wear your seatbelt, and I'm like, you don't teach to drive, I'm like, those laws, I see those as laws. But people break those laws every day. People kill people every day, they break into houses every day, they smoke children in their cars every day, they teach to drive, you see it. Those are laws. The governor didn't make it a law. It's strongly encouraging, the same things that goes forward and all of that. But what we do is they don't. It's like you said, what we do.
I'll let Justin kind of go more into detail.
So the thought process would be, based on the numbers we have, trying to keep the number of groups as small as possible. But for instance, and I'm going to use Bonnie's example. So now we tweak this example because there's 4 teachers there. It's easier to do that. So with 6th grade, for instance, And we did have 4 sixth grade teachers here, but Julianne left, didn't she? Okay, so like for instance, first period, the kids may be in Nicole's room, Whitney's room, and Hannah's room, and that would be the period that Julianne would have off, just for instance, for her to do all of her virtual stuff, her planning, her any recording she needed to do, feedback to students, connecting with whatever. Next period, the kids rotate, and Whitney may have that period off. It'd be her turn to do those things. So for a grade level that has 4 teachers, that works, and as long as we can keep it under 20, that's ideal. With 7th grade, so we're looking at with 7th grade with 3 teachers, same kind of concept, but the kids be rotating more or less in 2 groups. And so we're looking at a room with 16 and a room with 17. And that way the 3rd teacher has that 1 period off to do their virtuals.
Someone talked to me about being worried about doing double work.
Right.
And then their virtual later.
And the reason that's working right now, or potentially working right now, is because of the percentage of kids who are saying they want to go online. If, we had to sit and discuss it, if it had only been 3 or 4 kids in the grade level, then that was pretty much going to put it on, the teacher's going to have to find time to do it because there's so many here. And, but luckily the numbers look in our favor to make it work.
Okay, is there anything else?
No, go ahead.
Okay, David,
Okay, thank you.
got a plan?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. I've been contacted several times this week, concerns about our opening plans. Administration's done a wonderful job and putting together what you have to work with. My concern is we're being asked to do something that's not feasibly possible. I don't think you're gonna bring kindergartens in here, have them stay socially distant. You're not gonna get 8th graders to stay socially distant. So we're gonna break that rule right off the go. The mask thing, you can mandate all you want. It's like Danny said, people break that rule every day. It will be a nightmare for people, for teachers to implement that policy. You'll spend most of your day telling people to put your mask on. That being said, my question is, are we going back to school because it's the right thing to do? Or are we going back to school because somebody above us said that's what they want? We looked at this issue and said, okay, here's the negatives, here's the positives. In a pandemic that we don't have any control over, doesn't care whether you're wearing a mask or not. Sometimes you can still get this pandemic, and once you get it, it's over. Not over in a sense for you, but you can't change that. Once we turn that loose in this school, we know that schools are the highest level of transmission of those type of diseases. We shut schools all the time for the flu. In this case, we close schools and ask people to sacrifice quite a bit in the spring of the year. There were seniors that didn't get to play state championships. I thought about that today. What's going on in that kid's mind? 4 months later, we're going to go right back in the classroom? To me, it's the wrong thing to do. I'm 1 of 5 here. I don't say I'm right about everything. I don't want to come across that way. I try to take all the information I can get on this. I've read about it. I've looked at it. It changes every day. My question is, are we at a point where we cannot do online learning till we see where these numbers go over the next 2 months? And say the first 9 weeks. Let's say we put a plan together to do the first 9 weeks of online learning. I know there's going to be a lot of students that don't get it. That should also give us a chance to pinpoint who needs that help. That being said, that's a whole nother problem too in itself. People won't die from not learning anything this year. They might be a little slower. They might be a little more less likely to be socially caught up with where they should be in life. Chances are they won't die. There's a good chance when I sit around and the teacher meeting conference area, 75% of them are high risk. So you're gonna put teachers in a no-win situation, just like you've been put in a no-win situation, I think, by the lack of leadership. And it's unfortunate that we're in this situation. I wish we had a better solution. I'm not gonna vote no because I think you have a bad plan. I'm probably gonna vote no on it because I think it's the wrong thing to do for our school and our community. Not because you did a bad job. I think you did a wonderful job taking what we have and working with it. I've heard several comments here and other places, you know, we are a critical, essential facility. Why would we take that risk with that critical, essential facility and let it harm the people inside that facility? And I'm a teacher. I'm gonna have to go back to school if I want to keep my job because I didn't have a vote in that one, but I have a vote in this one. And for teachers, I've heard too many teachers tell me, why would we put pressure on 4 months after we shut it down, knowing that we're going in the wrong direction? So, that being said, I just hope we can come to a solution that works for everybody. I don't know a teacher that wouldn't want to go back to the classroom right now and go, wow, man, I'm glad we're back to normal. We're not there. We're not even close to that. As a matter of fact, all the critical data is going in the wrong direction. And as you look at that from the standpoint of, if you're going to follow the data, and education does a great job of following the data. Just look at your test scores. They wrap the whole world up in a test score, which I don't agree with, by the way. But I do agree with looking at the information and trying to make the best decision you can. I hope that we find a way to get back to school safe. But I'm not going to vote to put somebody at risk when there's other ways to do things. If we can get online with this on learning thing, it's only going to benefit our children because we're all behind on that, most of our community. So technology and the way it works today, we're going to give them a hyper leap into that future by forcing them to do it. And I know there's a lot of infrastructure things there that I don't understand yet. We don't even know about. But if we were able to do that and it benefits those children, they're not going to lose a year of education. They're going to gain a year of high-tech online learning, which they'll need when they go to college. They'll need that when they go on to the next level. So, that's my opinion. And I hope that we come together and make a good decision here. The administration has done a wonderful job of putting this thing together. I don't talk to them. Don't take a no vote from me as a follow-on plan. But that's my opinion.
So,
That's, I had one other thing.
I was getting an echo from you talking, but I got that about plan. Okay. All right, I appreciate that.
No, that's fine, thank you.
What?
No, that's fine, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Well, with that, with all the questions with the plan being taken care of in the meeting for August 17th, I'll go ahead and call our July 20th, 2020 meeting to order. Can we all stand, please, and say the pledge to the flag? Flags behind you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. With all members being present and all administration being present, the first thing on the agenda is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda? First, I can't hear me. that's good, okay. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda, to approve the minutes from the June 15th, 2020 meeting? I have a motion by Linda, do I have a second?
Second.
Is that Mickey?
Yes.
Okay, and you'll go ahead and go, so I was my questions. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, the like sign? Okay, we'll move on then to the business agenda. And the first thing, on the agenda is the Newport City School System Protocols for Safe Reopening of the School for the year 2020, 2021. Do I have a motion to accept the plan that has been presented to the board?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Is that Mike?
Yes.
Okay, I have a second. Just so that everybody, can, roll call vote. That's what you prefer. Okay, Linda?
No.
Linda, I couldn't hear you. What's your vote?
No.
No, okay. Mike?
Yes.
Yes. Any Powers?
Yes.
David?
No.
No. And Dan? Yes. So motion passes 3-2. For the plan of the reopening of the school. The second thing on the agenda is the Chromebook user agreement. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
A motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Who was that, please?
David.
David, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the 2020-2021 differentiated pay plan. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
I have a motion by Mickey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Linda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Okay, policies. First one was the student discrimination, harassment, bullying, cyberbullying, and intimidation policy, number 6.304. It's included in your packet. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Mike, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second. David.
Thank you, sir. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Thank you. The next is policy student concerns, policy 6.305. Motion.
Make a motion.
I have a motion by Mickey. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Linda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, like sign. The next is the Title IX and sexual harassment policy, policy number 6.3041. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
A motion by Linda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mike.
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Motion carries. Next is student fees and fines policy number 6.709. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
A motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Next on the agenda is the resolution number 2020 COVID-19. It's the resolution of emergency suspension of board policies during the 2020-2021 school year. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Like sign. Next on the agenda is the Tennessee Education General Assurance. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
I have a motion. Melinda, do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Mike, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Like sign. Next on the agenda is accepting Louise Killer's resignation as the cafeteria employee. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Motion from Florida, second.
Second.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Next on the agenda, approve the 2020-2021 SRO contract with the Newport City, well, it's just the Newport City of Newport, but I guess it's just the Newport City Police Department.
Make a motion.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Okay, approves the 2020-2021 open contract with L&D Landscape and Property Management LLC.
Make a motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, like sign? Okay, if I remember correctly, it was somewhere correctly, CDC,
Right.
want to open negotiations with Star in regards to the on-site, walking or the on-site clinic. City was the authority to open negotiations with Star. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Who was that, please?
I was gonna ask you, did we skip one?
Well, I know what the problem is, Jan. You do not have the updated agenda because I didn't give it to you. But we could just get it out of order there. We were gonna vote for that infrastructure, interim guidance for implementing safety practices for critical infrastructure workers who may have had exposure to a person with suspected or confirmed COVID-19. You know, I text you all that copy.
Yes, sorry.
That's fine.
I had it wrote down on a piece of paper, but then I don't need to. Okay, if you read that off of yours, you must say, please, just verbatim. I can hear it as best.
Interim guidance for implementing safety practices for critical infrastructure workers who have had exposure to a person with suspected or confirmed COVID-19.
Okay, so that is a motion on the floor. Do I have that to do before the board is motion, so I need to say?
Make a motion.
That I have mine, that's making a motion and put it before the board. Do I have a second? This fails, do I have a second? So as a board, are we going to reevaluate this, or are we asking that, that the team of professionals that has been brought together and reevaluate that. Because as a board, we're gonna have to come up with something in the event of teachers not coming into school to teach. What do we do when we don't have teachers standing there to teach? So I guess that comes back to the board to discuss and say, are we going to ask the steering committee and the state review task force to evaluate that and bring that back to us, August 17th, or in a special call meeting? What is the pleasure of the board? Because something will have to be decided in regards to who's going to be the professional that stands in front of the kids in the classroom.
We do that on Zoom? Just for that one?
What on the Zoom? Do we bring all of those people together in the Zoom meeting? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, like we did before. Vote on this one.
Are you meeting on the board, or are you meeting, because I'm saying, are we going to ask this board just to meet, discuss it, with the administration and call a meeting, or is it the board's pleasure that the steering committee, the stakeholders, reword, recalculate, do something, and bring it back to us?
You want me to ask the first thing city district what they're doing? Try to find out what the other districts, if they're voting for this or if they're voting against it. You know,
Well, if we table it, we're going to, the school's not going to start. So we need to make a decision before the next meeting. Would you think so, Jan?
Yes, that's what I'm saying, we have to have a special call meeting, because our next meeting is the week after school starts. I realize that, again, like, excuse me, David said, it's, we're in uncharted waters. But I think day one of in-service, our teachers need to be student. And, with that, and that's long before, the kids get there, that's a week before. But I think that the board's response should be, again, this is Jan, and there's 4 other opinions, but, I think the response to our teachers, they need to be to work day one of the, in-service. And, that we can evaluate our student needs, we can evaluate our systems needs, our schools needs, and evaluate how we accommodate our kids and teach our kids in the best possible way, as well as what is our teachers. So when I just think that day one, they need to be in the classroom, hearing what, and I realize the plan is going to roll out this afternoon, as soon as the meeting is adjourned, and then we'll roll it out to join the public. Right after that, we'll roll out to the teachers. But we are going to have to come back together and decide the verbiage and decide what we're going to do about educator reports. If you want to do that soon.
you want me to ask the school districts? I should have the answers back by, I would say Thursday. Or Friday, and then I can, you all can tell me when you want to do the Zoom meeting and Michael set it up.
Okay, so the infrastructure motion fails, like second, is there another motion in regards to that?
We vote on the, partnership with the Health Star. Started on it, but we didn't finish.
No, that's what you said, actually. So we'll go back to it, I'll just go in order of what you all have.
Do we vote on the last?
infrastructure. been brought up as a motion that night. So, and I said that we said I missed one that's the infrastructure, so we made the structure, excuse me. So we did that and it failed for lack of second. So I'm asking, is there a motion about that infrastructure or so,
Make a motion, excuse me, I make a motion that we have Sandy check with the other, systems and see, and, come together for a Zoom meeting and make a decision on it.
If they get recommendation, then I think she copies.
I second.
okay, so we're gonna table this on the infrastructure and give opportunity to Sandy to check with the other directors in the first Tennessee district, correct? And Lena, you brought that to the table,
Correct.
and we have a second by Mickey.
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Okay, that passes 100%. And next on your agenda is the Health Star.
Yes.
Okay, so next on the agenda then would be to go back to that, is open negotiations with Sandy, in regards to negotiating with Health Star regarding, our team. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Is that David? Okay, thanks, sir. Second by David, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Okay, and then the third, or the last thing, the masks. And I'm not sure how anybody wants to bring that motion to the floor, or if you do want to make it any, motion. I don't think we made a policy, but if, somebody, the floor is open in regards to the masks.
Make a motion that, all employees would wear a mask in the, and students work properly.
I second.
So, David, we're gonna have to have a very specific, verbiage on. So are you trying to use the word mandated, or you're gonna make a motion that it is? I guess it's what I'm asking, we just did it.
Board discussion, isn't Walmart saying now you can't come to the store without having a mask on? CVS, I think we should be leaders here and follow that, say that if you come in our building, you gotta have a mask on. Mandate.
Okay, we'll ask you to come up with a policy to.
You wanna push that to the next meeting? Get some time to think about that.
Okay, I think over that, so we can take it.
But just give us time to.
Okay.
Work
What
on that.
did you say about the children? I know the adults.
I know we can't get a kindergarten to wear a mask.
That'll be first or second.
I don't think so. I think it's gonna have to be somewhere where there has to be some flexibility in there, but I think we should be strongly recommended if the kindergarten can wear it, let him wear it. He's not chewing on it, but it's easier said than done. Again,
Pretend it's Halloween.
well, some, you want to push it to the Zoom meeting? That gives us a chance to get the wording right on.
Okay, so, do I have a motion to table the mask issue?
I make a motion to table the mask.
Second.
I've got a motion on the floor by David to table
Second by
mask.
Mickey.
And Mickey is second. Until the second. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, like sign? I'm gonna oppose it, I'm gonna say that it would be recommended and we lead by example. But that we don't have the grounds tax
I asked a question. I don't know if I'm supposed to come up with a word, words to do the math, but are we saying, I just want to be correct on this, that employees or anybody coming into the building are going to swear in? And are we saying anything about children, or is it just, I mean, I just want to get it right and how you all want it.
It will be, whoever wants to bring it as a motion to the floor, I would assume the board needs to come up with something, and that's what we'll do in the meeting, the calls and meeting. It'll kind of be a workshop item, I would see you saying it, that would just be open for discussion.
Okay.
We would get the verbiage down there correctly, strongly encouraging, or mandating, whatever verbiage wants to be worked out in the workshop. I think that's where it would have to stand. I think that would need to be a workshop item. What do the other boards, what the other board members think of that?
Sounds good.
Okay, Nikki, Linda?
Sounds good.
Mike?
Good.
Okay, David?
Yes.
All right. So we have tabled the mass to the Zoom. 4-1, I was going to let it, I said, go on, just saying strongly encouraged that, so motion carries 4-1. That covers the agenda. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
I have one more item of discussion.
Is
This
this
is David. This is David.
okay?
I received a letter this week from Nicole Grisman, talking about her situation here at school. I'm not sure this is the appropriate time to bring it up, but I'm kind of new to this, so hopefully I don't screw this up too bad. I'm here as an advocate for them. Nicole, been teaching her for a few years. I know the circumstances have changed quite a bit with her. She's had issues with the practice tests. And all I'm asking is that the administration take a second look at her situation. If there's a way that we can keep her at our school, I'd like to see that happen, because I think not only are we keeping Nicole, but we're keeping her two children and her family in our community. And they're a strong family for our community. And I'd like to see if there's any way possible that we look into that issue and figure out if there's a way that those issues can be resolved. I'm not asking for a favor of any type, I'm just for a second consideration. That's about all I can ask for.
Okay, so
Instead,
there's
you
to review
review that situation.
Okay, I think you're right to ask the administration to review that. That's not actually a board policy. Or a board decision, or the administration's decision. That is followed to the director and principal.
I understand that, and I realize that. It's just a situation where I feel led to reach out and try to help in the situation. I think that there could be some good come out of this, and maybe do the right thing here, fix this problem without it being so. Make a motion to close.
Second.
David.
David.
David made the motion to adjourn, and second to
Nikki.
all right. Thank you. Sandy, you will raise back the text with us in regards to what you hear back from First Tennessee directors.
Yes.
Then we can set something.
I'll do it.
Do you want me to ask the districts also about the policy on masks while I'm asking about the southern?
Please.
That'd be great. That would be great, I appreciate it. Somebody else in favor of asking about the next thing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, good thing. All right, I appreciate it, thank you. You're adjourned.
It's